Hello, welcome to Dare to Share with Mistie Layne. I am your host, Mistie Layne. A little bit about me, if you don't know who I am, I'm the best-selling author of the book, What Goes Up. This is a story about my life and all the adversity I went through and how I was able to overcome, start living my best life by pulling myself up and working through all of my pain points. I stopped using cocaine to stuff all the pain down. I started discovering what was hurting me inside, what I was trying to fill the void with, and started doing the work. So there's a chapter in here called Cope Equals Hope that can help you get started on how to identify your pain points and give you some techniques and tips on how you can start to develop your personal journey, getting rid of toxic shame and guilt. Also, I'm the founder of the hashtag Be That One movement. This is the movement where I encourage others to step up and be that one and share their raw, authentic truth so that we can all help learn awareness, get educated, so that we can step up and judge less and be more. I'm excited to have you here today. We have a guest, Miss Shelley Grunig. She's an amazing entrepreneur. She builds robots, you guys. I mean, how freaking cool is that, right? But she's been through so much in her life, and she's agreed to step up and be that one and talk about something that she doesn't talk about a whole lot. A lot of people might not even know this about her. But she lost a child, and she's going to talk to us in depth and tap her emotions about what that was like, how that came to be. And it's just pretty amazing to watch people come forward and share with transparency some of their utmost secrets, some of their most vulnerable moments that they're willing to share with us, just so that we can become educated and aware, and then we can learn how to handle it if we come across it in another situation. So I want to thank her for that. We'll bring her on in just a minute. But first things first, I'm going to ask that you go and share this out to all your family and friends. It just takes a click of a button. Just hit that share button. You never know who might need to hear this message. Also ask you to join the hashtag Be That One movement on my Facebook page. It's a private group on my page. You can find it there. And if you're interested in getting to know more about me, just go to mistielayne.com. My website is about to be redesigned, but there's plenty of information on there now for you to sort through. And one more thing is, if you would like to be a guest, it's pretty easy. You just email me, mistielayne@mistielayne.com, and type the word guest in the subject line. We're booked out through the middle of October, but we will get you on the books just as soon as possible. All right, so I'd like to also recognize my sponsors for the show, because without the sponsors, this wouldn't happen so easily. So I'm going to take a minute real quick to thank our sponsors, and then we'll jump right in with our guest. Today's show is sponsored by Simple Changes from Wanda Reynolds. Make a simple change today for a healthier tomorrow with products like Simply Satisfy, which aids in gut digestion and curbs your appetite. Mental wellness is directly related to gut health, so keep a happy gut with Simply Satisfy. Then there's Simply Soothe. It helps relax your sore muscles, and it supports your overall joint health. Simply Start is made from 100% organic hemp oil. It promotes your calmness, supports sleep, and maintains healthy joints. Contact Wanda Reynolds today through Facebook Messenger or at scdso.com/live life wonderfully. Health provides simple solutions to whole body health. To get and stay healthy, we offer Somaderm HGH Gel. Would you like to sleep like a baby and wake up rested? Do you want to feel maximum benefits from physical exercise? Do you want to burn through that afternoon slump with energy to last well into the night? Well, you can. And you may also experience 25 other whole body improvements with the gel. It's effective, safe, FDA registered, and very affordable. Diane has immuno boosters and keto support products too. Contact Diane Chasik at lifesmilehealth.com or text lifestyle to 64600 today. All right, you guys. Again, thank you to our sponsors, Miss Wanda Reynolds and Diane Chasik. All right, so we're going to be bringing on Miss Shelley. I met Shelley in Albuquerque at one of the Dr. V conventions out there. I've gotten to know her. I've spent some time alongside her. She's incredible, you guys. I can't wait for you to get to meet her. So let's bring her on, Miss Shelley Grunig. Hi, Shelley. How are you?
Hey, so good to see you, Misty. So excited to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me. Hi, Jana. Thank you for being here, and thank you for the comment on the book. I'm glad that you read it. Hopefully you got something out of it. I appreciate that. Okay, Shelly, man, we got so much to talk about. So I just want to kind of give a little preface real quick in case the viewers that are jumping on didn't get a chance to read the bio that we put out. Um, you've done so many things, but today we've agreed that you're going to talk to us mostly around the loss of your third child. Um, I want you to, once we get into that, I want you just to share what you're comfortable sharing, Shelly. Tap into your emotions. I know it's a pretty vulnerable subject. It's pretty sensitive. If you need to cry, I'll ugly cry right here with you. No problem. Okay. Hey, I have no shame in ugly crying. and but do it to your own comfort level. I do want to push you and encourage you because that pain will help someone else. But again, stay safe, stay in a safe place. Okay. All right. But before we jump into any of that, the first thing I always do when we start the show is I give you a couple of minutes of bragging rights. So this is going to be your chance. I'm going to jump off the picture and this is going to be all you, baby. And you're going to talk about all your accomplishments, the things you're most proud of in life, and just kind of all the good things that are going on. And then we'll go back in time. Okay. So it's all
Okay.
you.
Sounds great. Thanks, Misty. I appreciate it. Well, I've had a lot of amazing opportunities in life. And even though there are so many things that can kind of drag us down, really getting above that is what I call be greater than average. And so it was with that philosophy that my husband and I raised our children. And so my husband and our marriage and our children, our three healthy children and one in heaven, so proud of all of them. Through that, I was a homeschool mama who didn't expect to be a homeschool mama, but it happened that way, much like many of these homeschool parents coming out of COVID, right? But we tried it out and we loved it and never turned back. Through that, I was looking for something interesting to do with my kids in science, and I stumbled across this robotics competition, and this was back in 2005. And I thought, oh, this could be fun and interesting. And so I gathered a couple of friends, and we knew nothing about robotics, but thought, well, we'll try it. It'll be interesting. And that was 2005. It is currently 2020. And I'm proud to say that my husband and I have been coaching that team since that day. Back in 2005, our baby just graduated high school. So we have developed this team. It's an award-winning team. You can see just a couple of the trophies behind me here. But from that, just really dug deep into STEM and host a regular, that was a picture of last year's competition win when students were so surprised. We didn't think we'd win first place. They ended up taking first place regional champions. But bi-weekly, I host a show on CBS that highlights cool things kids are doing in STEM, and my husband and I have a podcast together. So those are just a few highlights of things that I think are fun and interesting. And I'm currently, one of the things I think I'm going to be very proud of beyond the weight loss journey is also currently working on a book. And I know I've followed your journey, Misty. Such a huge supporter of you. I think it's so important that we be transparent. Absolutely. And just share our stories, because the power of story is real. And that's really how I coach this team. People often ask me, how have you gotten them to win so many awards? It's not because I know a whole lot about robotics, but it's because I can tell them stories of how other kids before them have overcome. And those are powerful things that we need to be sharing more of.
That's amazing. Just the word robotics is kind of cool. I tell people I do nuclear medicine. They're like, wow, that's cool. And it is. I'm just so intrigued by it. And I can feel your passion for robotics as well. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. We were both nerds before it was really, popular,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. I was always on the science and math team and all that stuff. Yeah. But I was a twirler, so it kind of like gave me that little bit of the cool factor too, So I had that little
nice.
edge. So on the basketball team, so that gave me a little extra too. But man, in college, it was all Nerd City after that. All right.
I love
So
it.
it wasn't always cupcakes and unicorns, obviously. So this is the
Mhm.
part where we get to go backwards in the journey and learn about your story, Shelley, and how incredibly powerful it is and why it's so powerful. So I would like for you to, first of all, we know that you lost your third child, and it almost killed you, or actually, it did kill you on the table.
It did.
But
Yes.
physically, emotionally, and a lot of medically, there's a lot of ways. I would like, please talk to us about that, about the journey with that, and how you died on the table, and why Trinity didn't make it.
Right. Sure. So my husband and I had 2 children. We were super excited when we learned that we were going to have a third child. We had just moved to a new, relatively small town in Arkansas because I was working on a project for then Levi Strauss and Company, and went to the doctor's appointment to check out our first ultrasound, not expecting anything other than to see a picture of our baby. And that day turned into probably one of my biggest nightmares. That after getting the ultrasound, the technician sent us to the doctor's office, didn't indicate that there were any problems. And so my husband needed to run an errand and he had the kids. So I said, go run that errand. I'll just hop over to the doctor's office and check in before I go back to work. And when I walked into my doctor's office, she was sobbing. And she asked me where my husband was at. And I told her, and she immediately sent a nurse to go get him. This is back in the day before everybody carried a cell phone with them. And we learned that day that our daughter Trinity had anencephaly, which was basically the failure of her brain formation and skull, cranium. And we were asked that day, like, are you ready to deliver her now? Prematurely, just deliver her now. And that was a really, again, it was probably one of the most darkest days of my life that I can look back on. We told our doctor that day, we're not sure what we're going to do, but we know that we won't choose to deliver her early, because for us, that was just code for abortion, really. And because it was relatively early in that first trimester of pregnancy, second trimester of pregnancy, years allow us to heal some of those things by forgetting some of the details, right? But of course, if my husband was here, he would give you probably the exact date and time because his memory works a little bit more like that. But so from that point, we had to figure out what to do, and it was challenging because it was in the day before. The information that we had to go seek out wasn't on the internet. You couldn't go do a Google search on anencephaly.
Right.
So we went and researched, checked out every book we could, every article that we could. We both have been in higher education for a long time, so we're used to researching. So we dug up as much research as we could find and decided, again, we're gonna believe and have hope for this child, that modern medicine does a lot of great things, but we also, as we researched, we found that there were a lot of people with stories saying, my child was diagnosed with a certain disease and then we gave birth and there was nothing wrong. So we had hope, and we prayed, and we did everything that we felt possible, and prepared ourselves for what this might be. And so fast forward month.
Let me stop you just for a minute, because I just want to make sure we get this right. So your first trimester, you were told your baby had anencephaly, which is where the top part of the brain doesn't form, and they wanted you to go ahead and abort or deliver early, correct? But because you're Christian, you have faith, you knew that it was going to be God's will, whichever. And also because you had heard of stories where people were told that, but yet their babies were born okay. So you and your husband made a decision to carry out that pregnancy. So that right there in itself, I cannot even imagine going 6 more months not knowing. Like that would just, the stress of that alone would probably cause issues in my pregnancy. So I can't imagine how that was for you.
Yeah.
And how brave, Shelley. Oh my goodness. How brave of you. So lead us up to that day that she was born and tell us about that
Right.
day.
So we had a couple of blessings that helped us through. We were new to this town, but the ultrasound technician offered to let us see our daughter whenever we wanted. And so we would literally call her up and go in and get another ultrasound. So we had quite a few ultrasounds during the subsequent pregnancy. There were a couple of really difficult times because it was a small town. I remember once very vividly, the doctors in the town weren't a big fan of our doctor. She had been a midwife, and she had agreed to let us do a home birth. And I had our children, our other two children, Daniel and Mackenzie, in for a physical with their doctor. And I overheard a couple of the nurses talking about me. They didn't know they were talking about me, but I knew they were talking about me,
Right.
about this woman, this crazy woman that was, that this doctor was going to deliver this home birth for this baby with anencephaly. And that was a really difficult moment. But as we went through, there were certainly lots of people just reached out and shared their stories, which was so encouraging to us. Again, we read lots and lots of books. There was a book I mention a lot of times when I speak with people, and that really just gave us lots of comfort. And that was a book called Empty Arms by Cherokee Isle. And it was a great book, and I always recommend it. But that kind of gave us hope and kind of gave us an idea of what we should be thinking about doing if this baby didn't make it, how to react, what to do. And along with that, just our friends and family that pulled up beside us, and even strangers. Oh my gosh, there was one church that literally each week they sent us cards. We don't even know how they heard about our situation, but they sent us cards sharing their prayers with us. And that was really powerful and helpful. Eventually I would go into labor. I was overdue, and we couldn't quite, we knew that probably the moment that she was delivered, that Trinity would lose her life. And so being overdue it was kind of like it was a blessing in a way, right? Like we knew that she was still alive. And so we tried lots of things to move labor along. And eventually I went into labor, and we delivered at home. We did have my mom and our younger kids were there at the house and kind of came and went as we went through labor. What we didn't know then was because she didn't have the skull, it couldn't push against the uterus and really do the job of preparing my body for delivery.
Right.
And because of that, she came face first, which was in a way a blessing. We got to see her living, moving her eyes, opening her mouth. But eventually the doctor had to really help her out. And in that is when part of my cervix tore, and I started to lose blood at that point in time. She was stillborn. Basically, the moment that she came out and the umbilical cord was cut, she passed. And then it kind of went into, and by that time, when you lose 7 units of blood, you're not completely with it.
Yeah.
But they called an ambulance, and the doctor literally rode on top of me, holding me together, and headed to the hospital where they stitched me blindly. The doctor really was an advocate for us because she knew that we wanted to have more children.
Right.
And really grateful for her and her attitude towards all of that. It was definitely one of the most physically painful things that I've ever been through in my life because, as you know, as a nurse, they're not going to give me pain meds when I've lost all my blood, and
Yeah.
And, I was,
Pressure drops and everything. Yeah.
yes, everything
Mm.
was. So anyway, um, through that, there were a couple of surgeries, and in order to continue to repair the damage, and sending me to another hospital, and, and then still knowing at some point we still have to cope with the
Yeah.
issue that, we've lost a child. And so once once I was well enough to kind of start to work through that grief, then we worked through that process. But
I just can't imagine it. And to know you have two other kids, I think you told me they were 2 and 4 at the time that this happened, to have two other kids that were in the home when the birth was happening. Of course, I know that you kept them privy to it. They knew ahead of time as to the best that they could understand at that age.
right,
Um, but how traumatic for them to be excited about this fetus for 9 months and then not have that little brother or sister there. I can identify with that very well because our Eliana, my grandbaby, you know, my daughter didn't bring home the baby she thought she was bringing home either, and that it's tough. It's tough. Now she didn't lose her until 4 years later, but still, it's tough. Um,
yes,
so I just want to know, like, how were you? I know that it took you what 12. You didn't have another baby for like 12 years, right? You had blamed yourself. I think you had told me because you were obese, and I'm going to show some pictures here if you don't mind it. You had shared with me that because of the obesity, you thought it was your fault due to low folic acid or all the things that come around that, correct?
right. So Trinity was born in 1998. We would eventually deliver Bethany premature in 2002. So it was just 4 years. It wasn't 12 years, but it did
Oh,
seem like a really long time, right?
okay.
And yeah, I did. It, People would always ask me when they'd hear that Trinity had anencephaly, they'd say, well, how does that happen? Right. And I think that in this world, we want answers. And I don't think that anyone was necessarily trying to blame me, but it certainly helped add to the blame that I already felt. And all that I knew at that point in time and all the research showed was that babies with anencephaly were a product of moms who were obese with low folic acid levels. And that
Hmm.
just felt like me, right? Like I felt like that was it. And so that made that situation even more difficult. And I'd never, I feel like, and I feel like I had been obese for a long, long time and been teased about it in high school. Um, I look back at pictures of that time and I think, wow, I actually wasn't all that obese, but it sure felt like it, right? I didn't fit in my own skin. And so it was through that I just kind of spiraled into, being a mom was one of the most important things that I ever wanted to do in my life. And not being able to deliver that child and give her a life really was difficult.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, what tremendous courage. I mean, for real. People watching, please put in the comments, tremendous courage, Shelly. Just type that in the comments, tremendous courage, Shelly, and let her know that we're behind her, we support her, we hear her, and that we're thanking her for sharing this with us because, anencephaly isn't something I know a whole lot about, and I'm learning from her about it. I remember during pregnancy, obese or not obese, you hear all the time folic acid, folic acid, folic acid, iron, all the things that the baby really, really needs, right? So, I don't put it all off on that because our nutritional value is depleted. Our soil is depleted of nutrition. I mean, it's depleted of spinach today that you get from the ground does not yield the same nutrients that spinach
Mm,
50 years ago yielded because our soil is depleted. So, I mean, our diets have a lot to do with that. Our processed food has a lot to do with that. But the important thing here, Shelley, and we're going to get to that, is that you were able to move forward. You were able to not dwell on it. You were able to move forward. You had another child. You've homeschooled. You've been a wonderful mom. You've done so many great things. But the important thing here is that you had to learn to forgive yourself, and you had to learn to accept what was yours and what wasn't, and not take the blame for everything. Correct?
Absolutely. I think that's one of the biggest lessons in that through those adversities, we just have to use those, allow the Lord to use those to work in our life, to find the joy in it. There was, even though it was one of the most difficult seasons of my life, there was absolutely joy in it. We often talk about in our household that if it hadn't been for the loss of Trinity, it's very possible that our daughter Bethany, who was born, in 2002, that she wouldn't even be here with us. And so that's such a great joy. But I think that what I did learn from that, and have learned since that, is that transition and grief can be harder on some people than others. And that not only did I need to forgive myself for what I was blaming, just physically, but also just give myself grace and allow myself the time and space to heal.
Yeah. Stephen saying, thank you, Shelley. You have tremendous courage, and I am proud of you for sharing this difficult story. Bless you. Janice says, tremendous courage, Shelley. Sherry McQueen says, tremendous job, Shelley. So proud of your strength. You're a warrior mom. Hugs and love. Diana says, wow, Shelley, I had no idea. You are one strong, courageous person. My heart goes out to you. And see, that's probably someone you know. And the thing about it is we walk around, we're tough. We have this tough exterior. Not that we're trying to be fake, but we're just trying to be tough and live our everyday and exist. And there's things that we all have been through that people don't even have a clue. Because it's never been socially acceptable to really share those things. And that's what this hashtag Be That One movement's all about, is I'm really trying to change that. I think that transparency can be a game changer in the world. I really believe that in my heart of hearts. And so I'm pushing for it so strong. And I want to also say, I don't know him, but amazing job on the husband too, because
Yes.
27 years you've been together, and he, oftentimes something like this will tear a marriage apart just because you need to blame somebody. And oftentimes that you end up blaming the person closest to you. So
I do want to share that, as we were reading and researching, that's one thing that we just kept seeing over and over again, that the loss of a child or, a miscarriage, 80% of those marriages end in divorce. And so we just kept saying, whatever it is, we're gonna get past this. Like, we're gonna work on this together. This is gonna pull us together and not tear us apart. And so I am very grateful for my husband and how he held it together. Sometimes I think I had the easy job, right? I was the one that got rolled out into the ambulance and taken away. He had to figure out how to live life with our 2 and 4-year-old. Thankfully, my mom was there and able to help, but he was dad, right? And we need to remember that as we think about families, couples that lose a child, have a miscarriage, have a stillborn baby, that we need to remember dad. And that was something that we talked about frequently and still do. It is one of the greatest blessings. Honestly, I try and share the story when I can, because I do know that there are so many blessings that came out of it. Mm-hmm. And because of it, that I want to give other people hope that maybe at that point was harder to get before social media was.
Absolutely. Well, so I want to know, because I know that you've lost a tremendous amount of weight. I want to know what it is that, how did this all play into your weight loss journey? Is this something that was a catalyst to it? Did the weight loss come years later? How did that all fit in?
Yeah, so that was 1998. the weight loss, it actually, because of the guilt, I think I just weighed myself down, and I tried to stuff some of those feelings, and so my weight loss journey didn't really start until 2016. So it took a long time to really realize and make that a priority, and start that part of the healing process,
Absolutely. You have to figure it out. You have to, first of all, we have to admit to ourselves that we have pain that we're trying to cover up. And then we have to actually go through that process of healing it. And that's what that chapter in my book I mentioned, Cope Equals Hope, is all about, the 4 steps of how to confront it, optimize it, push through it, and then embrace it. Because until you do, you're never going to get to the other side. You never are. You're never going to have confidence or self-esteem or self-love or self-forgiveness or any of that.
Absolutely.
Okay, Shelly, I want to ask you, this is the point in the show where, because it is Dare to Share with Mistie Layne, I always ask my guests to think about a moment in time that you're daring to share with us. It can be your most vulnerable time. It can be something you've never shared. It can be just a pivotal moment that changed your life. I mean, anything you're willing to share with us, but I want you to tap into your emotions for it. And I want you to share with us in utmost transparency. I'm going to do a commercial break real quick. And when we come back, we're going to share that. And then you're going to talk about how it's changed your life and how we've turned, well, not we, I didn't have anything to do with it, how you've turned your life around and all the great things you're doing today. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to hear from you on that. Okay. So be thinking of that.
All right.
Today's show is sponsored by Simple Changes from Wanda Reynolds. Make a simple change today for a healthier tomorrow with products like Simply Satisfy, which aids in gut digestion and curbs your appetite. Mental wellness is directly related to gut health, so keep a happy gut with Simply Satisfy. Then there's Simply Soothe. It helps relax your sore muscles and it supports your overall joint health. Simply Start is made from 100% organic hemp oil. It promotes your calmness, supports sleep, and maintains healthy joints. Contact Wanda Reynolds today through Facebook Messenger or at scdso.com/live life wonderfully. Health provides simple solutions to whole body health. To get and stay healthy, we offer Somaderm HGH Gel. Would you like to sleep like a baby and wake up rested? Do you want to feel maximum benefits from physical exercise? Do you want to burn through that afternoon sun with energy to last well into the night? Well, you can. And you may also experience 25 other whole body improvements with the gel. It's effective, safe, FDA registered, and very affordable. Diane has immuno boosters and keto support products too. Contact Diane Chasik at lifesmilehealth.com or text lifestyle to 64600 today. All right. Okay, so Shelly, share with us what you're willing to share, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think it's important. There's certainly a lot of things that I could share, and I try and live as transparently as possible because I do believe that our stories are healing medicine to our souls and our lives and the lives of others. But I think, back in January of 2016, I had hit a very, very low point. And I woke up one day and thought, I am so sick and tired of being sick and tired. Obesity has, it's taken so much from me, from the moments of when I couldn't fit on a ride at an amusement park with my kids and had to step aside because the belt wouldn't buckle, or, times when people would cringe as they walked down the airline aisle, the aisle of the airplane, not wanting to sit next to you because you're obese. And, I just felt hidden for so long. And it was all part of that toxic shame and guilt and just haunting to me. And so it was at that point in January 2016 that I was very, very at a very low point. And I had tried, when you're overweight, people always tell you the diet that's working for them, or assume that you're not exercising, or, name it, right? I had tried so many diets. I I had regular gym membership. I felt like I had tried all those things and just was feeling extremely hopeless. And at the time we were caring for a friend of ours, he was living with us, and I took him to a doctor's appointment, and I saw at the hospital, there was a sign about this bariatric surgeon. And I was like, oh, well, that's kind of crazy, right? And maybe that's a little too good to be true. And I thought about it, and I ended up calling and found out that there was a little session, a little informational session that you could go to. So I signed up for that, and it happened to be a weekend where all my family was out of town. So I didn't tell anybody that this was happening. And I went by myself on a Saturday. I showed up there. A lot of people were there with a significant other, but I just was like, I don't want to, it's just too embarrassing to be dealing with this after all these years. And I wanted to do whatever it was on my own, I guess, in a way. Yeah. And that was an orientation session where I met Dr. Duck Vong.
Yeah.
And that day was pretty life-changing, I have to say. He gave me hope. He helped me to realize, what I could continue for the rest of my life to try every kind of diet there was, but there was certain things that I couldn't do alone and that he could help. And so as I thought about weight loss surgery, all these thoughts in my mind going through like, oh, is that the easy way out? We both know it's not. But from that point, I set up a consultation appointment with him. At the consultation appointment, I wanted to share the story of Trinity with him because I knew that was kind of like the moment for me where things just started to spiral even more.
Right.
And I got a little angry with him because he's very abrupt. If you've ever heard Dr. Vong or ever met him, had the privilege. As a person of faith, sometimes I know people are a little offended by his choice of words, but I just found his in my face approach to be so effective for me. Accountable. And he told me, it's like, I realize you got hurts. I don't really want to hear about them. I want to work with you to change your future. And by changing your future, that's going to change your past and the way you look at it.
That's beautiful.
And so, yeah. And so I dove in, and very, very quickly, surgery ended up being scheduled in August. Yeah, August. And between February and July, I had lost 80 pounds just applying his methods to how we should be feeding our body.
That's amazing. I had my big moment also in January of 2016 when my daughter and I had vacationed together, and we were going to go on a zip line, and we had to weigh in front of everyone. And I was over the limit, and I couldn't zip on with her. And that was it for me. I said, I'm done. I can't even live life. I mean, this is ridiculous. So I made the choice. I didn't know Dr. V back then. I went to Mexico because my insurance would cover it here in the States. Sure. I didn't have a support group. The surgery medically, I would recommend it to anyone, but you need a support group that you physically can go to, not even just an online group. You need that physical accountability, that interaction. And I didn't even lose 80 pounds at all from my surgery. You lost it before you even had the surgery. So that's quite incredible. I ate my way and stretched mine right back out. So, I'm still obese, but hey, man, that's amazing, Shelly, the things you've gone through. And man, kudos to you. Watching, please type way to go, Shelly, because that 80 pounds on her own, you guys, before she even did the surgery. So how much total have you lost, Shelly, altogether?
Yeah. So following surgery, I lost an additional 40 pounds. And at that point, Dr. Vong said to me, you need to go get skin removal surgery. And I was like, how am I ever going to afford that? One thing about Dr. Vong is from the day you enter support group, he says, get a side gig, start saving your money because you're going to want to remove skin.
Absolutely.
And it was true, right? So so I did go do that. I went to Mexico and had skin removal surgery, and that was really successful and a great experience. And in fact, I have a course that I've mentioned to you and others, to skin removal surgery, and kind of the things I learned from it, and videotaped my experience, a lot of my experience. My kids are like, oh my gosh, our mom's a vlogger. Um, but
Yeah.
sharing that, and again, being transparent. And yeah, I share a lot of that in my group, A Misfit Mom, Shelley Grunig, A Misfit Mom. And I finally fit into my own skin, right? I finally felt really great about myself. And Dr. Vong, I think the program that he has is so amazing, because it's not just about the weight loss. In fact, it's mostly about the
It is.
mental, the
Yeah,
mindset, right?
it is.
And if we can get our mindset in the right place, that can change everything. In light of being transparent here, I have regained some of that weight. Thanks, Jana. I've regained some of that weight, and I will be honest and say that some days during COVID have been very dark and difficult. But in the last few weeks, I've shifted and got that mindset back and ready to move forward. I think that sometimes, our life is sort of roller coaster journey, right? We hit those peaks, and then we have to experience those bottoms in order to appreciate
Right.
the good in things. And so I know I have the tools. I'm ready to go. And I just say that water is one of the tools. So lots and lots of hydration, right? We both know I shoot for 100 ounces of water a day. So
that's great. Wow, that's a lot. I want to share something real quick, just to kind of give the audience an idea of who you are and just your strength. I'm going to play something real quick.
This in another way, Jim Rohn very famously shared, you are the average 5 people.
This is off of your Misfit Mom thing.
Well, what I want to propose to you, and are you ready for this? This could be a little mind-blowing to you, because it's mind-blowing to me to even think about it. But what I want to propose to you is that it may not matter. Those 5 people may not matter if there's just one person that you're spending your time with that is not pouring into your life. Who is that one person? Is it your husband? Is it your kid? Is it your parent? Is it, your neighbor? Who is it? Want to take a guess? Take a guess.
I didn't get it right.
Guesses, write them in down here. We'll talk about that. Yeah. That person?
Moment of truth.
Yourself. Right? Yourself. You cannot spend time in a positive way with yourself. It doesn't matter who you surround yourself with. It'll help you, sure, to be around really positive people if you're a negative person. Do to make that change so that you can hit your goals, so that you can be everything that God destined you to be.
I love, I'm getting tears because I absolutely love that. We don't love ourselves. We don't. Especially, I know as a woman, and growing up in the pageant system and everything, we have such a standard. We feel like we tell ourselves that we have to look like and uphold and be like. And it's a tough hump to get over, to realize that you're the only person you need to please. You're the only one. Absolutely. If you're happy with you, be you, boo. Be you. So I absolutely, when I ran across that, I had to share it and play it, because I think it shows who you are as a person. And it just shows that deep inner struggle that you had. And I know Diane just said something too, said, I still struggle too, but I'm working on it, because we're all a work in progress. We all are. Absolutely. Okay. Now we got to get to all the good stuff. Now I gotta brag on this. Tell everybody what this is.
Sure. Well, that is the equation for be greater than
Mhm.
average. So for
Greater
finding the mean of a set of numbers, right? It also happens to be the logo for my business. And so we had that first year of the robotics team, we had 3 boys. Very quickly, the team grew, word got around. And this past year, we had 60 kids on that robotics team.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, the beautiful part about the team is that, yeah, it's about cool robotic things. Like if I shared with some of the stuff in this room that I'm in with all of our equipment, your mind would be blown.
Oh, I'm
But
sure.
it's also it's more about giving kids a place to fit in.
Yeah.
And I think that was a really hard part of growing up in my childhood, that I never really felt, as a nerd, I never really felt like I fit in anywhere. And so we made this place to fit in, and it has been amazing. So about 5, 6 years into the journey, one of the students said, we love this robotic stuff. We should teach other kids. And, I'm a homeschool mom and an educator. So I'm like, that's a great idea. Let's
Yeah.
do it. We started that. We started teaching other kids. And just about 5 years ago, my daughter sent me, the local community college was having an accelerator program to start new businesses. And she's like, you should do this. Like, we should make this official. Like, be greater than average should be really an official thing. And I was like, okay, but only if you do it with me. Right. So from the beginning, Be Greater Than Average has been about STEM enrichment and education for kids, giving them a place to fit in, and more importantly, helping them on the journey from learner to leader, so that they can accelerate, and not only just supporting the kids, but also supporting families families that might need extra support in ways. So typically we do 19 summer camps. And this summer with COVID, it was a little bit different. I'm super proud of the students. We pivoted and we went virtual. So if anybody's watching this, you can get a piece of us now. We are offering 3D printing camps. So we teach kids how to build 3D printers online. And then we also offer a Minecraft camp and a rocketry camp, and we have all kinds of camps where kids are teaching other kids, and it's such a powerful thing. It's
Will they teach
an
adults?
opportunity.
Will the kids teach the adults?
Yeah, we're
Can I
actually
go?
right now we're working on some professional development with teachers, because yeah, the kids are so knowledgeable and it's so much fun. And I always tell people, I hang out with them and make sure that no one cuts off a finger, make sure that they're all well fed, but they bring the cool factor to all of it. And so every year now we touch thousands and thousands of lives. And when COVID started, I challenged this group of kids that you see in this picture. And I said, okay, you could sit around and just think about yourself and what you're missing out on or what you don't get to do. I said, but I want you to be greater than average. I want you to challenge yourself and think about, what can I do for others? And so one of those students had the idea, hey, let's use our 3D printer to make face shields. And
Oh,
so
wow.
we started printing PPE literally in their bedrooms.
Oh
These
my
kids
goodness.
were using their own 3D printers that they had built themselves and printing in their closets, in their, wherever in their own households. We created a pickup system where some of the kids that didn't have 3D printers but could drive, they would go around and people would place bags of printed material on their front porch and pick it up. And
Isn't that expensive? I would feel like that would be expensive to manufacture, to 3D print. Isn't that expensive?
Well, other kids helped and did fundraising to support it.
Oh,
And
okay.
so in the end, as of today, the students have printed and assembled over 6,000 face shields for
6,000.
6,000.
Shelly,
So proud
you
of
did
that.
that. You did that. You guys put in the comment, you did that, Shelly. 6,000 face shields. Oh my goodness. That's
Yeah.
all
So,
you.
so now we're shifting. That was for medical people in our community. And now we're shifting to help out educators. And we really are looking for opportunities to teach educators online. We're looking for businesses to support our efforts so that we can, in our nonprofit, we have a nonprofit, support those efforts so that we can not only just provide face shields, but also teach other people to make face shields themselves, right? So instead of just giving the fish, we're going to teach these people to fish and use that emerging technology, because 3D printing is an incredible opportunity no matter what you're into, right? Whether you're into art or medicine or engineering or name a field, anything, right?
That is so cool. You guys, listen to the passion in her voice. Do you hear it? She gets excited. She giggles like a schoolgirl. Like she loves it. You can just tell. I think it's so beautiful, Shelley. You're giving back so much, just so much. I'm just so proud of you, guys. Like I said, I got to know you at one of Dr. V's. I got your shirt you gave me. And I just
you're greater than average. You really made an impression on me as well, and I love that. As a fellow Toastmaster, as a fellow podcaster, right? Like, these are important things.
Well, that's what we need to do. We need to lift each other up. That's my whole thing that I talk about, is the why I ask people to share is so that we can judge less and mentor more, because there's not enough of that going on. There's too much competition. We don't lift each other up and acknowledge each other enough. I don't feel like we do. So that's what it's all about. And you're doing it, and you're incredible. But I do want you, before we have to go, I do want you quickly, because we only have about 2 minutes before I have to say goodbye to you. I want you to give some advice to anyone that's listening or is going to watch the replay that might have lost a child, or maybe going through the same exact thing where they know there's a chance their child may not make it and they choose to carry the child. What advice can you give them as far as tools? I know you already mentioned, it's important to keep the dad in play and work together as a team and not let it pit you against each other. But what advice or resources could you recommend to those parents?
Absolutely. Well, I think that my biggest piece of advice is not to do it alone, and not to buy into the shame of remaining quiet or worrying about, there are still days when someone asks me, how many children do you have? And I go through and mentally think, do I want to say 4 and explain why they only see 3 physically? Or do I say 3? And is that a disservice to our daughter Trinity, right? But you have to do that journey and do what works for you. But reach out to others in a way that can then help you to heal, right? Whether you need to, your healing journey is, I use scrapbooking and writing. Those were 2 really important ways that I work and still work on my healing journey, right? But whether you reach out, there's one book that I love, and I believe you know her as well, Danelle Delgado, I Choose Joy. Such a great book. Get yourself an Audible app and just start listening to things, right, that are going to lift you up and build you, challenge you. Surround yourself. But again, going back to that video that you played on my Misfit Mom page, it really does come down to you. So what is it that you need to do to take care of yourself and to heal yourself in that journey? And then do that, that realize that you're worth it, whatever it is. And
Absolutely.
And value yourself first. Take care of number 1, and number 1 being you, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, Shelley, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for stepping up to be that one. I think that you've really provided a lot of insight, a lot of knowledge. I think that you've shared with us intimately, and I thank you for that. If people want to get in touch with you, I know that I had asked you earlier to go ahead and drop all this. So at the beginning of the comment section on the show, you can find all of her her links and all the ways right here I'm displaying on the screen now, that they're also in the beginning of the comments. Get in touch with her. I believe she's the kind of person that would encourage the questions, and you guys, when we're able to give back and not waste that pain, it helps us heal. It helps us become stronger and better as well. So
absolutely, we are better together, right? We're better together.
Yeah. And I always say, don't, when someone wants to do something for me and I'm really quickly saying, no, 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 no. And I have to stop myself and remember that if I don't let them, I'm denying them their blessings. So we have to really remember that. So if you want to ask Shelly questions, don't chicken out, because give her the chance to bless you. Give her the chance to bless you.
Please. Yes.
All right, my friend. Thank you so much for being here. I love you. I love you. Keep building those robots. Keep printing those face masks. That is so freaking cool. I'm going to have to come out there and go to one of those.
All right. You don't even have to come here to do it. That's the beautiful part. We're doing it completely online.
Virtual, that's
ship you the supplies and you build it in your home and we walk alongside you. So you and kids.
I'm going to check that. It would be so cool to say I did that.
Thank you. And thank you for your Dare to Share movement, Misty. What a blessing it is to our world.
Thank you.
Empowering and just helping people forgive themselves and get over ourselves, right? Like, get over it. Like Dr. Vong told me, let's move forward. Like, our past is important, but it is in the rear view mirror for a reason. We need to move forward so that we can become greater and be more.
The rear view mirror is smaller than the front windshield on purpose. Think of it that way.
Absolutely.
All right, Shelly, we will check back in with you, my dear, probably sometime next year. I'd like to get you back on and just do a recheck. But until then, just thank you so much, and I love you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, you guys, that was the incredible Miss Shelly Grunig. And she's got a lot of courage. I can't imagine the things she's been through. Like I said, to carry that child, not knowing, it was just pure on faith, and then the way it turned out, and then kudos to her husband for, he was thinking he lost his wife and his child that day. And man, what incredible strength and courage. And you can see as the interview at the end showed, how she's just turned everything around. Instead of dwelling on all the things that got her down in life, she just pulled herself up. She faced her truths in the mirror. She learned that it started with Shelly, that she had to love herself, that she had to like herself, that she had to be a positive person in her own life, which I love that, and make the changes necessary to live, to thrive in life. And that's exactly what she did. And that's what this show is about, is to show you that you can too. If there's something out there, you guys, that's keeping you awake at night, if you're carrying around a bunch of toxic shame and guilt, contact me, get with me. Let me help you through that. Let me get you my toxic dump writing guide, free of charge, just to help you out, just to at least to start identifying it. Check out my book. You can get a signed copy on mistielayne.com and read it. It's extremely transparent. There's tons of help after each chapter. I break down exactly what I did and what you can do too, especially the Cope Equals Hope 4-step method chapter. It's full of a writing technique that can truly help you. Just give it a chance and truly try it. But long story short is, you need to just stop beating yourself up. You need to love yourself like you love other people, and choose to give yourself a pat on the back for the good days and not beat yourself up on the bad days. That's my advice. All right, you guys, we're out of time. I love you so much. I will see you every Tuesday and Thursday night at 6 p.m. as promised, Central Time. We'll be back in 2 nights. I hope to see you here, and please share this out. All right, Mistie Layne out. Love you.